Hello and welcome to the Sandro Forte podcast. Over the many years I've been running a business, I've met many successful people, entrepreneurs, sports stars, celebrities, and dare I say, even royalty. So what makes a person successful? Do we know what success is? And the all-important question, can we create success for ourselves? This podcast series invites a diverse group of people to share their insights, their wisdom, and the things they've learned along the way. Today I'm joined by English cricketer Peter Trego to talk about his incredibly successful cricketing career that has spanned over 20 years and has also led him to becoming, something of a TV presenter and personality in more recent years. Well known for being a great all-rounder and a flipping good bloke, Peter left his Somerset team last year and is currently signed to Nottinghamshire. I'm not going to tell you any more than that because Pete and I go back an awful long way. Dare I say, I've even faced his bowling on one occasion. I think it was a charity thing that I was stupid enough to face an 80-mile-an-hour delivery. But Peter Trego, Pete, really, what can I say? Welcome to the Sandro Forte podcast and thanks for finding the time, mate.
Thanks for having me, Sandro. Yeah, always nice to catch up. And yeah, we go back a long way, mate. I'm pretty sure 80 miles an hour is probably quite optimistic, but it was certainly one of my effort balls when I had you 22 yards away.
I think I connected with one from the 6. The other 5, I don't think I saw them. So it felt like 80 miles an hour, even if it wasn't. So we do go back a long way. I'm going to embarrass you by telling you I watched you growing up. You know, you were a young whippersnapper when I was already at the twilight of my cricketing career, if you could even call it that. So let's help everyone listening, Pete, by first of all asking you to tell us a little bit about Peter Trego and your early life growing up, and in particular, when you discovered this love for cricket that has turned into a very successful career.
Well, obviously, growing up in Weston-super-Mare, mother and father were sort of relatively sporty in their early days, but obviously when I became sort of aware of things, they were certainly not particularly sporty. But I was lucky enough to have an older brother, Sam. You know, we literally spent every, waking hour playing some kind of sport. I mean, the majority of my upbringing was spent living backing onto Drove Road Rec, which for those who don't know, Weston-super-Mare is 4 hockey pitches and 3 rugby pitches, so quite a lot of land. And we would literally be out there. We'd make our own golf course. We'd practice being, rugby players, diving into the try line, football, hockey. We literally had every sport under the sun going. But actually, to be fair, not really cricket. It was only until I think Sam was probably about 15 when he had a really nasty accident at a local outdoor swimming pool and broke his knee, because we were pretty much brought up to play football. And Sam had this nasty injury, no more contact sport. Sam took up cricket, got really good at it. And to cut a long story short, the jealous younger brother thought, I'm not having this older brother getting all the limelight. And I started playing at about 12, 13 and just took to the game. I mean, there was no real technique to what me and Sam used to do. It was clear the front leg, hack the ball over cow corner, as it's called. And yeah, somehow have turned that into a 20-plus year career. It's been amazing, really. But like I said, massive credit going down to the fact that at the back of the house when I had an older brother.
I remember, actually, I think I was probably playing in that team when you, Sam, and your dad were all in that same side. It might have been on your debut, I'm not sure. But if not, then shortly after. At what point, because I mean, the other thing that people won't know about you is that not only are you a very good cricketer, you are also a very accomplished golfer. I'm amazed you never really played for the county, but a very good footballer, could easily have turned professional at that. So what makes you so unbelievably good at all of these things? And, is it your opinion, Pete, that you're just born to be talented at these things, almost anything you turn your hand to? Or, and we'll explore this in more detail because I think there's an important message here for a lot of people. Is it because you applied yourself as you say, almost every waking hour, and you learnt this trade. You know, you became as talented as you are. Did it take a lot of practice, or was it just something you kind of woke up and think, oh, yeah, this is easy? Because a lot of people ask that question. Are you born talented, or is it something that you acquire?
It is really interesting, actually, and obviously just about to turn 40 and still playing the game. You know, I am old enough and experienced enough now to be able to reflect on what makes a sportsman, obviously, especially having two young sons that are interested in different sports, and one in particular on a football academy. My eldest son's in this junior Somerset team. So I spend a lot of time thinking about this question. Obviously, a very potted history of my sporting credentials. Obviously, I've got down to near scratch with golf, obviously my cricket career, and I've played non-league football, sort of what's the league called now? Vanarama South. So sort of semi-professional football. I've probably made, I guess, 300 appearances at that sort of level. So there is like a multi-sports accomplishment associated with what I've done. But when I look into it and I try and advise other people, it's like I do think that I think it would be wrong to say that there isn't a born ability there. I mean, this might be an unpopular view, but you could throw a tennis ball to 10 different kids that you're not related to, and the way that they would catch the ball, or quite simply not be able to catch the ball, is obviously very, you know, prevalent right in front of your eyes. You know, some kids just don't have a great hand-eye coordination, and many do. But I think I have to say that there's something within me that strives for perfection all the time, and it doesn't just manifest in what I do as a sport. It's just everything that I do. I literally don't touch it unless I'm going to give it my absolute all. So to answer the question, I think, you know, it's probably going to take up quite a bit of our time if you want a real complete answer. But, you know, there is a mixture of being born with an ability, but, you know, sometimes I think I'm not wired up right because of the levels I will push and try again and fail to achieve the sort of levels that I want to achieve. You know, like I said, I've never had to pay my bills playing golf, but, you know, the time, effort I put in just to be, you know, the best golfer I can be. It's not always about competition with other people as well. It's about me feeling like I am the best I can be at whatever particular thing I'm doing. And like I said, it's not always sport. I'm just internally driven, I think. I mean, so I think there's like there's some sort of link between the two. And you go through sort of the history of all the really top sportsmen, and I'll reference like a Don Bradman story, who's obviously known to be one of the best batsmen to ever play the game. I mean, there's a story where when he didn't have any mates to play with, he would get a stump and a golf ball and he would just tap balls up against the wall over and over again. And this is my biggest advice to any young sportsman is, if you only do the sessions that are prescribed to you by your coach or your club, you'll only go so far. Every single high-level sportsman or high-level anything that I can really think of, there's always a backstory of them going out and finding ways to improve themselves. And like I said, that is one gene that I seem to have in abundance that has sort of kept me trying to improve. And like I said, during this sort of lockdown period now is like a great example of where my head's been at. You know, 12 weeks of having my profession sort of taken away from me. And all I've done is press the reset button, and I'll be going up to Nottingham tomorrow, statistically, the fittest I've ever been in my whole career. And that's, like I said, that's just something that's not a talent, that's an ethic, that's a work ethic that is in there somewhere.
Well, that was the answer I was expecting from you, because the last 28 years since I saw you make your debut at age 12 or whatever it was, I've noticed, and I'm going to go so far as to say, and this may embarrass you, apologies if it does, but I've sat in the crowd and watched Somerset games over the years, and I think when you left Somerset, everyone saw someone leaving the club that they would consider a legend. Now, the word legend is not one that we bandy around like confetti in sport, but a lot of Somerset supporters, I know I speak for many, Pete, in saying they saw you as one because of that dedication and that commitment. You know, you knocked on the England door, it would be fair to say. There was all sorts of talk about whether you're going to get picked for a T20 game, for example. But I think everyone admires that work ethic that you say. And at the age of 40, to be fitter than you've ever been, I think is testament to how hard you work. And so I don't think I was really expecting a different answer to the one you gave me, but for the benefit of all those listening, I think you're right. You know, there has to be a degree of ability, but I think ability pales into insignificance if you don't have that ethic, that drive and that enthusiasm and that dedication, getting yourself up an hour earlier, staying on the training pitch an hour later. And I think there's a big lesson for a lot of people listening out there. So, you know, you've got a family, Pete, as well. Lovely family. And therefore, I guess as a sportsman still at the top of his game, how difficult is it for you to keep that kind of work-life balance? Because that must be a common challenge for people at, you know, playing sport at a high level.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's, you know, I suppose it's fortunate myself and Claire have been together for 20 years. The children have always known me, you know, be a sportsman. Obviously, that's all I've ever done. You know, they're kind of used to me being away for long periods of time. But obviously, as you know, looking back a generation of sportsmen ago, I really don't. You know, you can see why the sort of family sort of breakup stats are so high, because, you know, this day and age, you've got Zoom, for instance, and FaceTime and all these different ways of communicating and being able to see your family and your loved ones. You know, even with that kind of relationship from time to time, it's tricky. You know, I've had periods where I played as an overseas player for Central Districts, where I was away for 4 months at a time. You know, there was a period in my career, I think for 7 winters, I was away playing in different competitions, you know, and not just 2 or 3 weeks at a time, we're talking like months at a time. So it has its strain, obviously. So, you know, the support network you need from your family is very important. And obviously I'd go past just obviously the people that I live with, that network of the in-laws and my mum and dad that help out with the kids when you're away. You know, it all comes together. And like I said, I mean, I don't think it would be that easy without a combination of all those things happening. Like I said, the technology that you can see your family, but also your wife getting the support, raising the children. Because in fairness, I mean, it's the one thing that is difficult when you're a sportsman. If you are honest, you've been pretty sort of vacant for a lot of the nappies and the nighttime feeding and the school runs and all that kind of stuff. But obviously, that's the way this family ticks, and we all understand that, and it kind of, yeah, we make it work.
Good for you. I mean, it's something that we hear often from guests on this podcast. The support network is very important. And that support network, Pete, the highlights of your career, you know, you've played for lots of teams. Somerset, of course, it runs through everything you've done in cricket. But of course, as we've already heard, whether it's hockey or golf or football or anything else, frankly, you've turned your hand to. Any standout team that you've played for, and why? Is it Somerset, or are there any other teams that you've played for that, you know, live long in your memory for a particular reason?
Yeah, a number actually. I mean, playing, you know, when I was 16, I was signed to Western Supermare Football Club, which was always a massive goal for me. And I loved playing at Woodspring Park, which is now a KFC. But you know, to be in goal at 16 at that level was quite an achievement. It was a very, very senior team at the time as well. So, you know, I was probably being exposed to things that 16-year-old lads shouldn't really be exposed to. But, you know, in terms of like the banter and the dressing room, and, you know, we had a cracking little team. And, you know, I can remember the stand on the right-hand side with our sort of loyal fans singing Seaside Mafia and all that kind of stuff. And I could, you know, they were great memories. We always had this fixture, the Boxing Day fixture in the Southern League back then was always against Newport County, which was a fierce game. Newport used to come over to watch the football and to have a scrap basically in town afterwards. They'd bring 4,000 or 5,000 people down. Like I remember having, literally 4,000 or 5,000 Welsh Newport fans behind my goal. I'd get to half time, but I was an absolute broken man. I had lumps on the back of my head where I had boiled sweets thrown at me and spat on and this, that and the other. I can remember one particular Boxing Day, I saved 2 penalties and we won 2-1. And it was just, that was just a great start to my sort of sporting life, if you want, to be 16 and exposed to that level of sort of intensity and pressure. So I look on those days really fondly. But then, from a winning point of view, going over to Central Districts, playing in New Zealand in their equivalent professional cricket league, winning the Plunket Shield, which is their first class competition over there, having the pressure of being an overseas player as well, because that's something that if you haven't done it, it's kind of, it is there. Like I said, you sign as the overseas player, you're the one player that they've recruited from a different country to come and improve their team. So there's that pressure on there. And there are some sort of moments that I had in New Zealand I'm really proud of. In particular, I scored a big 100 against Auckland, which was a great moment, and that was in a championship winning season. So a great experience. There's lots of things that I'm very proud of. I'm very proud of being from Weston-super-Mare as well, and I think one of my other really proud things, it's probably my, I suppose, from a sporting point of view, least big time things, is I love playing for Weston's first team golf team. Absolutely love it. Playing the foursomes, which is kind of an amateur golf Ryder Cup, if you like. It's relatively local, so you're playing against, Clevedon and Burnham or whoever you might be playing against. I absolutely love turning out for my town.
I'm just, well said. I think for those who don't know where Weston-super-Mare is on the map, it's in the southwest, down by Bristol, and it's the place everyone's only ever been once. For reasons you'll discover when you go there. But I love the fact that your heart is in Weston, Pete. On the subject of kind of intimidation and distraction and pressure, everyone's well known that Tiger Woods' father used to throw things at him as he was practicing hitting balls on the range. I'm just trying to think while you were speaking then, whether you and I ever played first team together. You probably asked the captain of the day whether or not you could avoid playing with me, but I'm sure we must have played on at least one occasion. Anyway, the whole intimidation and distraction and pressure thing, the reason I want to just focus on that for a second is there's an analogy, there's a parallel with life and business, I think, and I think there's an important message for people out there who are either dealing with life or dealing with business, not just sport. That's part of the deal, right? It's part of the package. It's what you sign up to. Has that made you more resilient? That upbringing where, you were in that kind of cauldron, that pressure cooker environment where it was do or die. Has that helped shape you and made you more resilient and determined, do you think?
Yeah, going back to sort of the upbringing, with Sam, who I was joined at the hip with basically for my whole sort of upbringing, there was always something on everything we did. It was never just a putt. It was never just a penalty. It was always a putt to win the Masters. It was always a penalty to win the FA Cup. It was always, we always piled on this perceived pressure. And I think that is, like I said, that's probably just a little bit of a helping towards those moments where you are genuinely under pressure. It's one of the sort of coaching cliches, really. People say about train hard, play easy, and hopefully the listeners will get what that means. But there's no such thing as train hard, play easy. You cannot replicate the moments that matter. And again, that's probably the difference with people who fall into the mediocre and the ones that succeed is people that can identify those big moments, not always on the sports field, just in life in general, and step up to the moment, make the right decisions, calm under pressure. And, you're talking about, like I said, not just about over a putt or over, hitting 4 off the last ball or anything like that. Sometimes it might be someone falling off a bike and whacking their head in front of you. People that are calm under pressure, make the right decisions, make the right choices. And like I said, thankfully, I do believe that I have that ability to sort of step back. And actually, a lot of people think I can be quite cold and callous sometimes, but I'm very good at staying in the moment and hopefully making the right decisions and not panicking too much. Like I said, I think it is something you can train into yourself. But I mean, for me, fortunately, I feel like it was almost naturally done from a very, very early age with, again, the sporting challenges that me and Sam used to have.
Mm. Who was the best player you ever played with or against, Pete?
I mean, like
you were lucky. You played some cracking players over the years. I mean, Banger, Marcus Trescothic, and they don't come much better than that. But you're also lucky enough to play overseas. So I know you even gave me a bat that I think was responsible for quite a few runs out of a certain ground in India at one point, if I'm not mistaken. I didn't score as many runs with it as you did, of course, but in fact, the thing was so flipping heavy, I don't think I ever had trouble lifting it up. But who was the best player? Did anyone spring to mind?
Yeah, I mean, that's the benefit of playing as an overseas player and playing in English county cricket. You know, it's so welcoming to overseas players. You know, it's always been that way for years and years and years. You know, I've played with and against Sachin Tendulkar, Shane Warne, Matthias Muralitharan. I mean, the list literally goes on. I mean, the one player that I played with that I just couldn't fathom how you could. I mean, I've always thought I was, or judged myself as quite a good player of spin, and had, you know, a couple of times, you know, got the leg out the way and hit Shane Warne for a couple of sixes, and you think, yes, he's an unbelievable bowler, and by the way, he did get me out eventually. But I always felt like if you could play someone like that, even though it was incredibly challenging. But Matthias Muralitharan, I faced him so many times in the nets when I had my one season with Kent. I literally would just walk out having no idea. Not only did I not have an idea at the time, even when I reflected on what I did, I still couldn't come up with a plan of how to play the bloke. It was just ridiculous. And obviously his almost unbeatable record of 800 test wickets or whatever it is. I mean, it's just, I mean, like I said, I just used to walk out the nets completely scratching my head. So in terms of like overall record, I mean, there's obviously a bit of a contentious thing about his action, but, you know, putting that to one side, he was ridiculously good.
Well, I think the fact that he could do it, you've got to doff your cap, haven't you, to somebody who can do those kinds of things with his body. But nevertheless, and I think I'd rather have faced one of your deliveries than one from him, because I didn't have a clue either, I must admit. Not that I ever faced him, but just watching him, the guy could turn things sideways. I'm going to ask you, before we close this off, and another sort of 5-7 minutes, you've said in the past that you fear, I wonder whether this is born from our days drinking cider down at Somerset, but you have said in the past that you fear a football hooliganism is creeping into cricket. Is that still your belief? And if so, tell me more about that particular comment, Pete.
Yeah, I mean, there are certain groups of fans at certain clubs that I think do go a bit over the top. I mean, I'm all for, you know, everyone having a good time, but, you know, we've had occasions at Taunton where we play Glamorgan, which is only one of a number of sort of negative memories I've had of crowd, where I'm pretty sure that it's the Cardiff City football gang, if whatever they call themselves, come out. They've sort of hijacked T20 as a reason to get hammered on a sporting event, and they came over and they literally caused chaos. They came over. It was a 5 o'clock start. They were in Taunton town centre, setting flares off and causing chaos with the police at sort of midday. You know, cricket grounds aren't really geared up to cope with that. I mean, if you could imagine dealing with, you know, 3,000 or 4,000 hammered football fans. So, I mean, that was something that I think the game needs to be aware of. But like I said, it's one of those catch-22s. You want people in the ground, you want them having fun, you want them having a few beers, but there's always a line. I mean, football have obviously struggled with this particular issue for years and years and years, to the point where you have to really police the ground and the surrounding area. I hope that doesn't happen, and that's the only reason why I say that. I don't want to have to turn up to my cricket ground and there's 500 police that needs required to just to get the game on. That's what I don't want to happen. So I'm not saying it to have a go at people, going a bit over the top, but like I said, there will come a time where if town centres are causing descending into chaos because of the game, it's just going to be a massive sort of expense to the game of cricket. And like I said, you've also got the dynamic of a cricket ground where you'll have people taking things to that level, and then a mum and dad and a 12-year-old couple of kids. Do you know what I mean? It's just like it spoils it for them, and that's kind of where I'm at, because that particular day there were some really, really upset youngsters, and that's what I don't want to see.
Yeah. Although I have to say, isn't it great that we've seen a seismic shift in the followers of cricket? We've moved away, I guess, from that stereotypical, and sorry for generalising here, but the gentleman in his 70s wearing his hat and his shirt and tie in the middle of a summer afternoon. We've got young families now. More and more young kids appear to be really enjoying their cricket, and that's terrific to see. And I think T20's had a lot to do with that. It's the razzmatazz and the fun in cricket's, I think, being brought back, and long may that continue. I'm also going to ask you, just because it's been reasonably topical lately, Black Lives Matter. We've heard those words, those headlines for quite some time now. Have you ever witnessed any kind of institutional racism within cricket? It doesn't seem to me that that's a sport that suffers quite as badly as some of the others. Is that a misconception from my perspective, or does it happen?
I mean, it would probably be, I don't know if it's, if I can necessarily have an opinion on it, because obviously, I have my experiences, but obviously, from the outset, I mean, I've got to say that, I've played for Somerset County Cricket Club for 20 years. The two of the three absolute icon god statuses of our club are two West Indians, Joel Garner and
Viv Richards.
I mean, they are idolised. We have parts of our ground and photos all up, celebrating what they did for our club. So, I don't think that's. I mean, if there was a institutional racism issue in cricket, would we have so many players of colour, coming into the ground? I mean, every single team hires from the West Indies and Pakistan and India and all over the world, and obviously there's some fantastic players, playing for England: Jofra Archer, Tamal Mills, Chris Jordan. But then who knows? I mean, it's probably not for me to say. I mean, the Black Lives Matter thing is very important in today's, culture. And it's, we are in a situation where I do believe that in the UK, we get it as well as anyone does in the world, to be honest, from what I can see. We all have our pasts and what's deemed as acceptable in different, generations. I personally can't see how going back 400 and 500 years and looking at how things were done then and sort of slating that situation is, I feel like it's missing the point of where we're at as a nation at the moment. Like I said, I'm sure there is more we can do. I for one, personally, just, I couldn't care if you were green, black, blue, orange. Does not bother me in the slightest. I mean, I treat good people like good people and bad people like bad people. That's my view on life. But like I said, I mean, it would be a terrible shame to hear that, inside my teams I've played for, that anyone's ever felt repressed in any way, shape or form. I'm pretty sure that in my 20-year career, I can say that certainly in the Somerset dressing room, that wouldn't be the case.
Yeah, well, let's hope. And well said, I have to say. Maybe that very fair and objective opinion you've just given reflects on the fact that you're now into TV presenting. And I have to say, of all the people I've known in sports, I think you've got a fantastic career ahead of you, Pete, because you are very articulate. You've got great opinions and massive experience over a very long period of time with a number of different clubs and different sports. So tell us more briefly about the TV presenting, how the opportunity came about. Is it something you want to continue doing in the future?
I would love to, actually. I mean, the difficult thing is, unless you get to I think in terms of opportunities within television, if I'd have played handful of games for England, I think I would get a lot of work. I mean, I'm probably at that stage now where if and when I do move into the media, I'm going to have to get jobs on the back of being good at media, not just because I was a good cricketer, if that makes sense. There are a lot of people who just get given an opportunity because they're a name. But like I said, I feel like I'm going to have to forge my own way, if you like. I have a few opportunities. I've done a fair bit so far. I mean, I presented one series called Beyond the Boundary where we went all over the world. It was absolutely fantastic. Absolutely loved the experience. And in fairness, it was probably one of my physically hardest tours I've ever done. We were away for about 6 to 8 weeks in total. I've never been so tired in all my life. I mean, we went all over the world: Dubai, Singapore, Kenya, Rwanda, and all over South Africa. It was absolutely fantastic. And yeah, I would love to do a bit more, but I kind of feel like I have to get a gig on some Dancing on Ice and break a leg just to break into the limelight, really, or go in the jungle and eat some fish eyes or something just to get myself a little bit more in the mainstream. But hopefully that will come. But I've still got some cricketing to do in the meantime.
I'd pay bloody good money for that. So the future then, cricket. I mean, you're in peak physical condition. Anyone that knows you looks at you as with envy. Just how the hell does he do that to his body? So great physical condition. New contract with Nottinghamshire, which is amazing. So retirement anytime soon. What's the plan?
When I had the leaving Somerset was tough, but I definitely felt like I had more than enough to give to the game, and I wouldn't have signed the contract with Nottingham if I wasn't going there to have my best years. I mean, I have no intention on winding down the clock in any way, shape, or form. Obviously, the club, they're a massive club, very talented side, so I'm going to have to be right on the top of my game just to get into the starting team, which is obviously the first goal. But like I said, I mean, I've signed for 2 years. Obviously, half of that's been wiped out with the coronavirus issue. But, I'm going up there in a couple of days' time and I'm looking to hit the ground very much running. In terms of when does it come to an end? It comes to an end for me when I feel like I can't win games for the team that I'm playing for, and I'm definitely not there at the moment. I don't foresee the end of my current contract being the end. The end will come if I feel like my ability is not a match-winning one anymore. I don't want to be that bloke that's just clinging on. I want to be a match winner. I want to go up to Nottinghamshire, and within the 2-3 months that are left of this season, I want to cement myself as a crowd favourite up there, because they will see the commitment I give to the team. They will see the qualities I can produce on the field. And that is as far as I look ahead in terms of like the actual playing side of my career.
I love that. Wouldn't it be ironic if you scored the winning runs in the T20 final next year against Somerset? That doesn't bear thinking about. But best of luck, Pete, with your career. Final couple of questions. Number one, are you a bit of a social media buff? Are you on social media? Do you have a website? How do people find out more about you apart from clicking on Nottinghamshire County Cricket Club and looking up your details? How else do people find out about Peter Trego?
I am on Twitter and Instagram. Tregs140 is my Twitter handle, and PD Trego77 on Instagram. I mean, a lot of the posts at the moment are sort of fitness related. Obviously, that will morph into sort of more media and cricket performance stuff as the season gets ahead. But take a look.
Brilliant. We'll do. Final question, Pete. It's the one we ask all our guests, the only one that's common to all of them. And that is quite simple. One of your kids saunters into your living room one day and says, Dad, I've been thinking about, life and the business or the sporting career I want to embark on. With all of those 40 years of experience and an awful lot packed into that short period of time, but with all of that experience, good and bad, if you could give me a mantra to live by, if you could give me a simple paragraph that would motivate and inspire me, something to live my life by, what single piece of advice would you give to one of your kids or both of your kids above all else, Pete?
Well, my first bit of advice being a dad of a 13, 15 and 18-year-old is don't bother trying to give them any advice because they won't listen. But if I was going to give advice to someone else's child that might listen to me, it would be, I'm a huge believer in very much staying in the moment. And every single day when I put my head on my pillow, I always have this thing inside of my head that is, have I done enough today to improve myself? Have I looked for an opportunity to improve myself? I mean, at the moment as a sportsman, it's obviously about the physical side of things, but I just feel like people that go out there and look for opportunities to be the best they can be on every given day are the ones that sleep the best, eat the best, are the healthiest and the achievers. So that would be my life advice to live by. Every single day you wake up, find a way to be better than the day before.
I love it. That's a really, really good way of ending a terrific podcast. I'm sorry we couldn't speak for longer, but people tend to get a bit bored after 35, 40 minutes. So, but it might be, Pete, that we get you back and we have another go. There's so many more questions I'd love to have asked you today, but Peter Trego, Somerset legend, and hopefully Nottinghamshire legend before he quits the game. Thank you very, very much indeed for being a terrific guest on the Sandro Forte podcast today.
Cheers, Sandro, and let's have that game of golf soon.
Absolutely. You'll see how bad I've become. So thank you. Thank you for joining us on the Sandro Forte podcast today. You've got to know Peter Trego to fully appreciate what an amazing guy he is. Each week, we've got a new guest joining us to share their own insights into achieving success or overcoming life's challenges. Please make sure you subscribe, tell your friends about it too, and follow us on social media. Sandro's podcast with an S, same on all channels, don't forget. And if you want to email us with a question, it's hello@sandrospodcast.com. And please remember those two other important things. To connect with me, Sandro Forte, it's the real Sandro Forte on Instagram. And please leave your reviews on iTunes. They are really, really important because we like to bring guests to you that you want and you ask for. And don't forget, occasionally we do offer prizes from some of our guests. So make sure that you review on iTunes because then you'll automatically be entered into the draw to win one of those prizes donated by a guest of the Sandro Forte podcast. And who knows, we might get signed back out of Pete, but I'll talk to you about that after the show. So until this time next week, another terrific guest on the Sandro Forte podcast. Goodbye for now.